Have you ever recognized this cycle impacting you? And if so, how did you recognize it and how did you break free of that?
I think to myself, every day I have some thought that's like, oh, what are we going to do about this? Or what are we going to do about that? I'm in that doom loop and I don't even know it. And he's like,
Hmm.
hey, here's the mirror. Like, you're in this place and we got to get out of that. I think honestly, what helps a ton is having a great coach. So people in my position should have someone that they can just call up.
Good afternoon, everybody. We're here for the fourth edition of Escaping the CEO Doom Loop. I'm John Ninkovich. I have my friend Glen Dahl, and we have Lauren Carson joining us today. And we're excited to spend the next little bit talking with Lauren about what it's like to run a legacy company. So, Lauren, thanks, and thanks for making the time.
Yeah.
And welcome to our podcast. It's great to have you here today. Is
Yeah.
this your
Thanks for having me.
first time podcasting? You've done some podcasting before, haven't you?
I did a podcast for like a youth basketball thing. But so this is like really probably my first legitimate podcast. Yeah.
Awesome.
All right.
Excited.
Well,
Yeah.
cool.
Oh, we're legitimate. We're
Yeah.
honored.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lauren.
Thanks for having me.
Well, let's jump in.
Yeah.
So let's talk
Okay.
about kind of your personal journey and your vision. So you've been operating as a president of ARC Abrasives for a couple of years now. How did you end up in the seat?
Yeah, it's funny to think about. So I came to ARC to run marketing pretty quickly, became also the director of sales. So I was the director of marketing, then I was the director of sales and marketing because we had a sales problem. Turns out your sales problem is an operations problem. So I start attending the morning meetings with operations, production, all the things. Fast forward, and I become the general manager within 6 months of being here. So I'm running sales and operations, lifelong sales and marketing person, running operations and sales. It was kind of wild time. So I became the general manager and then ultimately the president of the organization about 2 years ago. So added executive responsibility. So IT, finance, HR, those things under my umbrella as well. So that's how I got here. Not expected, but here we are.
That's awesome. It's been a heck of a couple of years, huh?
That's great.
Yeah. And
Yeah, thanks for sharing the journey.
yeah, thanks. It's interesting. I wanted to be a sales executive. That's what I wanted to do. I really like sales. I like the math equation part. I like the scoreboard. I like competing. That's what I wanted. I wasn't like, I'm going to be the president of a company. I didn't set my sights on that. So it's interesting to be in this seat now. I love it. I wouldn't change it for anything. I don't want to be a sales executive anymore. I love what I'm doing, but it's not the path I thought I would take.
Yeah, it's interesting.
No.
So when you think about kind of your vision for the future as a president of ARC, what's that look like for you?
Yeah, what I think about, I love manufacturing. I love having a tangible product. I love that about manufacturing. But I look at manufacturing and I think that we're really stuck. And so I see an incredible opportunity for us to really modernize manufacturing in the way that people are in the environment, how we make products, and not just like through robots, but how do we make the people part of manufacturing more enticing? So that's kind of where I see the fit for ARC is an opportunity to come into a very legacy industry, kind of stuck in the way that we've always done things and really disrupt the space. And so somewhere between doing things different with manufacturing, but also doing things different in the industrial space. Both is kind of my vision for ARC.
Do you want to give a little overview of what ARC does?
Yeah, so it's ARC Abrasives. We make essentially sandpaper for metal. We've been in this space for almost 60 years. And so we applied adhesive to sandpaper and then over time just kind of evolved. So we do the full gambit of abrasives. We're really dedicated to finishing. We have a unique blend of technical mastery, but like down to earth, like pragmatism about us. We're not just going to sell you the most expensive thing. We're really dedicated to being good people, doing good business, finding good solutions. But we're really inspired and driving toward finishing all things. How do we get smarter and better about finishing all types of materials, metals, plastic, wood, all that stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lauren. It's exciting. I like how you kind of take it to a more, right? You say, well, we just make sandpaper, but really it's
Yeah.
about all things finishing. What I like about your vision as well is how you want to make your company a better workplace and talk about working parents and a lot of things. So that's really inspiring.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
think a part of it is that I'm a parent and I'm in this space and I think about the luxuries that I've had. The tech company I worked for was a manufacturer as well. So I've always been around that. I can remember my general manager and lifelong mentor telling me, like, you were built for this space. Like, you were just built for this, So I think it's some of that.
All right, I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
John may have shared with you the CEO playbook, in which there was a concept.
Yeah.
We interviewed 72 CEOs and really found this correlation in something that the analysis led us to, the CEO doom loop. And John ran a company, I've run companies, and we both recognize as like, yeah, that's a real thing. And we see it a lot now with our clients and with other CEOs and presidents and owners caught in this doom loop. It's kind of what can get into a downward spiral and getting kind of taking away the challenges in sales effectiveness, leadership capacity, this fear of failure, and can you build the right team? So I don't know if any of those ever sound familiar to you in that role of president. Have you ever recognized this cycle impacting you? And if so, how did you recognize it and how did you break free of that?
Yeah. No, I'm lucky. I've never had any problems or issues or imposter syndrome thoughts. That never, ever. What are we talking
Oh,
about?
great. All right. We're done.
Moving along. What's the next question? It's funny because as you're explaining that, Glenn, I think to myself, every day I have some thought that's like, oh, what are we going to do about this? Or what are we going to do about that? Sometimes I stay in that space longer than I should. I think honestly, what helps a ton is having a great coach. So people in my position should have someone that they can just call up and say like, hey, I'm getting to a place where I'm worried I can't come back from. And so I'm fortunate to have worked with John for a long time now. And so actually sometimes he recognizes that I'm in that space and I don't even know it. People call it like doom scrolling or whatever. I'm in that doom loop and I don't even know it. And he's like, hey, here's the mirror. Like you're in this place and we got to get out of that. So I think having a coach really helps and is really effective in making sure that you're thinking critically about, we got to get out of that, because the reality is we got 100 people here at ARC and they need a leader who is going to look at things glass half full, not things glass half empty. When I show up like that, it has a rippling effect on the entire organization. So I can't be negative or down about what's happening when there are problems, because the reality is every day there's a different challenge. So I have to figure out how to turn lemons into lemonade and rise to the occasion for our people, because they need to know that their leader is confident that we can overcome any obstacle. Because we're a 60-year-old manufacturing company. We've overcome a ton of recessions and COVIDs and market crashes and all those things. What's going to hit us that we can't overcome?
Yeah. As a CEO, I didn't have a coach. And it's something that now really is my purpose in doing what I do, because I do see how I didn't have anybody that I could trust. And I didn't have anybody that, I love the phrase you used, hold a mirror up to me,
Absolutely.
and someone I could trust and confide in. So I'd say kudos to you for recognizing that, because we all need a coach to get better.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. It's funny, actually, my first thought 5 years ago would have been, I need an app or I needed this or that. And I thought about my relationship with John in my career and I thought, I need a coach. Like, I just need someone to be like, hey, stop eating like that. And so I've hired someone to just help me out, hold me accountable, hold the mirror up, So it's funny how when you have a really good coach and you realize the impact that they're able to have for you, how many other areas of your life you're like, where else can somebody help me out at and just hold me accountable?
All right, so let's talk about a little bit about teams and leadership. One major pain point that Glenn and I run into all the time as metronomics coaches is really about people. And so the question is, how have you built a culture at ARC Abrasives that attracts great talent and keeps that talent?
Yeah, it's like an imposter syndrome thing a little bit. Sometimes I'm like, I don't know why these people want to work with me. I have so many really incredible people here and I'm just like, why? Why do they want to come to work every day and work with me? So in terms of building culture and talent, I think being really open about our vision and being excited about where we're going. And I only want people who are equally as inspired and excited about what we could do together. I think our culture and being really upfront about, here's the culture that we have here, and it doesn't work for everybody. And that's okay. That's been a big tenet of building the right team, bringing in top talent. But I also think really sharing that vision with them, people who are just looking something steady Eddie, that's great for a lot of people, but that's not a good fit for somebody here. Like, we're really audacious. We're really committed to where we're headed. And we need people who are really excited every day. We have a director of operations. He always says every day is the Super Bowl. And I love that. We need that mentality of people that every day is a Super Bowl. And so I think through our definition of core values and culture building, that we've been able to attract and retain the people who are super dedicated to where we're going.
Yeah, that's awesome. In the last couple of years, I know that you've learned about really the value of building a team, right? Getting the right players in place and some of those hard
Yeah.
decisions that you've had to make, right?
Yeah.
What's that journey been like for you?
Yeah. So I think back early at ARC, having been a lifelong sales and marketing person, that part, I won't say it was easy. It's not easy, but I understood it more. I felt much more confident and capable there. And so when I took over operations, I had these supervisors, so our operations leadership team, who I really believed in them. And I felt like they wanted it as much as I wanted it, and they could teach me a ton and we could do this thing together. And what I realized is they couldn't. And that was really hard for me. These were people that I had leaned on and we had been to battle together and we had overcome it. And so to have to recognize that this isn't the group to take us where we want to go was really hard. I think being able to recognize and just admit that, like, hey, this person isn't the right person, just because they're not the right person here doesn't mean they don't have value somewhere else. But being able to recognize that and then get an action around those things was really hard. I mean, it's been a tremendous part of my growth. And I think is something that I will always battle with is just acknowledging that it's okay if these people got you here, but can't take you to the next level. And I would say my learning in operations was definitely the biggest growth that I had in my time here related to people and making the tough people decisions.
You've done a great job with it.
Thanks. Yeah, it's been hard.
Well, yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's simple, but it's not easy, right? I mean, it sounds simple to say, and Lauren, you've been saying many of the same things that John and I, from our coaching perspective, would tell leaders of, hey, here's how you need to build a culture of accountability, but it's really putting them in place because ultimately you're a people leader.
Absolutely. And hoping that they can get there. I used to have a boss, and a lot of people say now, hope is not a strategy. I would have hope strategies for these people. And they were good people. This is the thing. We almost never have somebody in our environment who's like an awful person. We have really great people and they care about what we're doing. They just are not the people to get us to the next phase. And I think it would be so much easier if the people were just awful. If it were just like painfully obvious, like, oh, they're just wretched, but they're not. Most people just are not, and they want to do a good job. And so that makes it really difficult. But we are better. I am more trusted as a leader here when I make those tough decisions. And so that's something that I don't take lightly. The trust of my team is super important. And so when you allow people to not perform in their roles, the ripple effect throughout the organization is something that I've become very keen on, because when I do finally make those tough decisions, the amount of relief that brings to our top performers every time we make a tough people decision, that's the most eye-opening part. I always think people are going to hate me and they're going to be like singing the Wicked Witch song when I walk in, and they don't. They're like really grateful that I'm willing to do the tough things, and they might still play that song behind my back. But I think that they largely are grateful to have a leader who's willing to make sure we have the best possible people on the bus with us.
Let's talk a little bit more about, John, what I would call the hard edge of the business.
Okay.
So what, from a growth perspective, what would you say are some of the most important practices or strategies that you've implemented or want to implement for your company to help grow?
I think the biggest thing that we have put a tremendous effort on profitability. So yes, every organization, us too, have a sales problem. But the most important thing to us was making sure we understood our cash flow, understanding our expenses, understanding how to be profitable. And it's easy to look at those things on a spreadsheet and say, "Ooh, that number looks wrong. Let's dig into that." What I have realized in my time here is that the more I enroll our people, enroll our department managers and or even our floor operators in that journey, the faster we're able to drive profit in the organization. So we not only dedicated to financial savvy for all of our department managers, going through the P&L, slowing things down, really talking about the ins and outs and what all that stuff means. We try to do that on a monthly basis. We also have performance bonuses for all of our people, like give them some skin in the game. If you can help us increase our throughput, or you can answer the phones faster, if you can come up with innovation that helps us do things in a more cost-effective way, but not at the sacrifice of customers, everybody makes more money that way. So in my opinion, the thing that we have done really well here is enroll our people and not just sit in the ivory tower and say, oh, this is the change that we should make. Oh, let's go change this thing. Really empowering them to make those decisions and letting them know it's okay to fail. Because the reality is sometimes they want to implement something or they do something that we all agree to that doesn't go well. And knowing that that's a part of it and that's okay too. Our people being okay that sometimes there's going to be shortcomings, but most of the time, at least at ARC so far, it has paid off tremendously to empower our people to help us drive more profit into the business.
That's fantastic. I know John's a big fan of the book, The Great Game of Business, that talks a lot about that education
Love
and
that.
empowerment.
Yes, we read that book. It's
Yeah.
actually one of the first books we read, and it really changed the way we thought about approaching our business. So absolutely down. We're not all the way down to the floor yet where everyone has that level, but absolutely after that book, we were like, at a minimum, our managers have to be able to read things forward and backwards just like we can.
Yeah. Fantastic.
You've done a great job of that. Yeah. So let me ask you this question. How has your role evolved over the last 3 years since you've been at ARC, and how your role as a president has evolved tremendously in the last 2 years?
Yeah. So I had like the craziest realization this year. So this year we did wage increases for our production environment. You guys know, like the labor market is a really wild thing and you got to keep up and you got to make sure you're in alignment with all your competitors, right? Your labor competitors around you in terms of hourly wage. So we sit down to go through our hourly wages. You guys are going to laugh at me, but this was the first time I didn't know every single person's wage without looking at it. We opened up the Excel spreadsheet, and for the last, I've been here for 4 years. For 3 out of 3 years, you could tell me anybody's name. I could tell you to the penny how much money they made. And
Mm.
this was the first year it was like, oh, I don't know how much money they made. And I should know that. That's something I've always known. And what I realized is that I have a unicorn of a director of operations and he does his thing. Like he brought in the right team. He's got the right structure. Our on time shipping is through the roof. Our production is incredible. Our retention is, I mean, every single marker of a production environment has doubled, tripled in his time here. And what I realized is I don't have to spend my time on the production floor. For my first 2 to 2.5 years before bringing him in, it was firefighting every day. I'm going to a production line. Sometimes I'd be running production lines with people. You were just trying to survive. And now I'm like, oh my, I don't even know what these people make down to the penny. Like ballpark, I know, but I didn't know to the penny. And that was a great, like, you're the president of the organization. Your job is not to know down to the penny what every operator makes. Your job is to make sure that Brian has the resources he needs to be successful. And that was a great indicator that Brian has the resources he needs to be successful. So I would say, John, that has been my journey is I'm not so in it everywhere. There's places I'm in it, don't get me wrong, but I'm not in it everywhere. And operations was a big part of me in the business. And so that is, I'm on to the next thing that I'm in, but it's giving me time to work on things too, which is
Yeah. It's interesting, Glenn. This is kind of an interesting story. I've known the CEO, Tony Stamen, for a long time. He's a family friend and a great guy. And so Tony and I have talked for a long time. He's like, I think you should come down and talk to myself and my general manager. The first time I met Lauren, she's wearing jeans and a hoodie. I'm like, your general manager's wearing jeans and a hoodie. I was like, what are you doing today? She says, well, I'm working on the floor. And I'm like, is this just like once in a while? She says, no, I'm working on the floor every day.
every day.
So you talk about really working in the business to working on the business. And that's literally 2.5 years ago where he was in there just rolling up her sleeves, trying to figure everything out. And the interesting thing about it is I think it was a great learning opportunity for Lauren to really understand the business at really the ground floor. And so that was probably allows her to be able to be a more effective president because she got to learn the business intimately, how the business really operates. And so that was my first meeting with her. And I'm like, wow. And then when she started talking about kind of her role, what she was doing and where she wanted to go, I'm like, oh, wow, she's got it. She's just kind of in the middle of trying to figure out where are we at and then where are we going to go. But she was definitely working in the business at that point for sure.
Oh, I was absolutely. It's interesting though. I would go work on the production floor. It's where you learn what's the temperament, what's the pulse, what's the real culture in your business. I learned it there. And so it's funny because I'll come out now and I'm like in my blazer and my nice shoes and stuff, which is a little bit more true to form. And I'll come out there and I'll load a machine or I'll start packing out product. And some of our new people will look at me like, does she know what she's doing out here? Also help to build a little bit of credibility. No one here is above any job, and that includes me. And so it's interesting because I think that every president and executive should spend some time with those people who are on the ground floor, really know what's going on. And I've built some incredible relationships. And what's nice is they lean on their new leaders. They don't have to lean on me, but I still have that relationship with those folks on the floor. So yeah, absolutely.
I love that. I had a conversation with one of my CEOs today here. They asked me a question that I'd love to ask you. And then how do you balance time spent working in the business versus time spent working on the business? And how do you see that evolving for you in the future?
Yeah, it's a great question. There's something that drags you into the business inevitably all the time. And so for me, I think what has been most effective is I have to figure out what those KPIs are within the business. So I don't feel like I have to go anywhere or be in a meeting or run the numbers myself to know what's going on. So what has helped me is really being clear with my leaders about what I need from them so that I don't feel like I have to be in it. They are subject matter experts in their domains. And so hiring those people, asking them for, here are the things that I need to see from you. gives me the confidence that I need. That has helped me a ton. I don't even know what that would look like, but I think for me, what I'm trying to do is assemble a team of people who I can trust, who are going to do bigger, better things than I would be capable of, so that it freed me up to think about it and work on other things. So that's what I'm trying to do, Glenn. It's a great question. I don't know that I'm there yet, but it's all about people and having the right people to be able to do that.
Absolutely. It really is something with the CEO doom loop is that John and I have talked as far as using the skiing analogy as many, especially entrepreneurial leaders, when things like you talked about tariff issues or there's some kind of headwinds in the business, they'll retract down and feel like I have to do more, which
Yeah,
actually in an organization, as you probably know, has the opposite effect. Because then
absolutely.
your senior leaders who you trust and who do their jobs great start getting the sense of like, does Lauren not trust me? Am I not doing my job well?
It's so funny you say that, Glenn. I was talking to one of our executive team members the other day in his one-on-one, and he said, I asked for a tariff analysis a couple of weeks ago, and my team delivered something. And I was like, okay, well, these are a couple of different views. I should have been more clear about what I was asking for. So I acknowledge that I have to be really clear if I don't get what I wanted. I was standing in line on a Disney roller coaster. Hey, guys, this tariff thing is blowing up. Can you please get an analysis together? Okay, that's how it went down. And so they delivered something, and I was like, oh, I don't know if that's exactly what I was looking for. Can we do this? And so we happened to be in a meeting together. So we all just knocked it out as a group. Afterwards, he comes to me and he's like, in his one-on-one, he says, I missed an opportunity to deliver to me what I really needed. And I appreciated the humility of like, I didn't meet the mark, Lauren, and you had to come in and tell me what I should be looking at. And so what I appreciate about that, Glenn, is that I think absolutely my team was like, oh boy, we should have done this or that. And what I really root caused it to was I wasn't clear about what I was asking. Had I just told them, like, I'm trying to understand the profit impact, how we had these tariffs last year, it would have taken them down a completely different path. But the reality is, I was not clear. I was in a hurry. I sent a text message and they didn't deliver what I needed. I didn't get frustrated about it. We did it together, but it left them feeling like, oh, she doesn't trust me. I didn't do the right thing. So exactly what you said occurred last week.
Wow. Great example. Thanks for
Yeah.
sharing that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, really good. All right, so let's talk about a little bit about you, Lauren. So when you look at kind of personal routines, habits, things that you're doing to manage stress, maintain focus, keep that high level of energy, what are the things
Yeah.
that you're doing to keep that performance level at the level it needs to be?
Yeah. So I have two pretty small kids. I have a 12-year-old and a 6-year-old. And so, well, quite honestly, I feel like I have no routine. I think that the couple of things I have done to ensure that I can bring the right energy to the organization are a couple things. One is boundaries are really important for me. So I was just having this conversation with our sales manager. Boundaries can be whatever you want them to be, but I got advice. And she said, my advice to all of you is to set boundaries, whatever they are. Decide what they are, communicate them, and then hold to them. And so I remember thinking that, okay, how do you do that? How do you really set boundaries in your personal and professional life? It's really hard. And over time, I learned that what's important to me is my weekends. So Saturday and Sunday, I really try to dedicate to my kids because during the week, it's 10, 11, 12-hour days sometimes, and I miss dinner and I'm barely home in time for them to go to bed. And so weekends are really sacred for me. But for the most part, Saturdays and Sundays, those are for me and my family. And then vacation, we do like one or two a year. And when I'm on vacation, I really try to be present with my family, with my husband, with my kids. My mom comes. And then the other thing for me is to keep my energy high is I'm an avid gym goer. I've always been very into that. I was a ball sport athlete growing up. I used to run a lot and then I realized I don't know that I love running. So I weight train. I've weight trained for 12, 13 years now. And so I get up at 4:30. I hit the gym. Most of the time I'm very, very disciplined about doing that. I need that dopamine rush, really get me supercharged for the day and listen to my loud music and all that stuff. So my answer to that is boundary and my gym routine. That's what keeps my energy in the place it needs to be for the business.
Yeah.
Yeah. I share this with both of you. So when I was running a company, I was in a CEO roundtable. And one observation I made is that almost every month we'd get together and go around, you do the status update. And almost we would accommodate family, business, family, personal. And the personal, almost every CEO would say, oh, I'm behind in my fitness goals. I haven't been going to the gym. I've been working too. I need to. And I always thought about that because think about it in a manufacturing environment, you have capital equipment, right? Those are the assets. And you would never not do the scheduled maintenance on equipment, right?
The great
But
point.
yet so many leaders and people, we don't invest in our own maintenance, even though we always say, well, people are our greatest assets. So always
Yeah.
the dichotomy always struck me, but sounds like you recognize that. Good to invest in yourself.
I love that preventative maintenance thing. That's so true. Honestly, sometimes there's a month or two where I feel like I'm not getting to the gym as regularly as I should be. I just have to make that mental shift. And I struggled, like even coming into this job, I was still weight training really for vanity's sake, not for therapy for me to keep my brain sharp. It wasn't really for those reasons. And so that mental shift around, if I want to be the best I can be for the organization, I have to do this. This is as much for these people as any other thing that I do for them. So it's so interesting. I love the preventative maintenance because we would never not schedule our maintenance, right? We would never not get that thing done. So it's interesting we do that to ourselves.
Correct.
It's a great point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've got a question for you, Lauren.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, we want to achieve a certain level of financial success, right? And
Yeah.
we can do that in almost any business, right? If we're good at it, we put our mind to it. Lauren, from your perspective, what legacy beyond financial success are you hoping to build through your business?
Yeah. So this is a great question. In my 12 years at my former company, I never applied to a job. Not one. I was in sales, I was recruited a lot. I entertained a lot of conversations. That's where the software thing came from. So when I think about the legacy I want to leave on this business, I want people to see that a company that's dedicated to their people, that is really dedicated to growth, that culture is everything. I want to have a line of people who want to work here. So when I think about legacy for ARC, it's about making my community proud. It's about making the people who work here proud to wear our shirts. So there's cool stuff. But at the end of the day, if we do all of that and people wear an ARC shirt and it's like, oh, who's ARC? That's my biggest fear is I leave here and people still don't know who we are. I want people to know who we are. I want to be in Meijer or Kroger or Walmart and people be like, oh, ARC, I've heard that's a really cool company. That's what's important to me. They're fun and they want to grow and they're committed to their people. That's what's important to me about the legacy at ARC.
It's about making a difference and building a brand and building a culture, and the money comes because you do all that stuff, right?
Yeah, it's about when you enroll the people, when you give them autonomy, when you empower them, they know how to make you money. They know how to make us profitable. And so if they're proud of where they work, if they have a piece of that, if they want to see it grow, then the whole thing, it all happens, right? It's exactly what it's all about. So
Yeah.
that's the legacy. Hopefully we do that.
Great stuff.
Right.
Cool.
So here's the last one. So if you think about critical hires and people you've added to your executive team, your leadership team,
Yeah.
what have you seen as a significant impact trajectory by adding those new people to your organization? What's that look like?
Yeah. So this is a great question. And it gives me a chance to brag on one of my favorite people here. So when I was running operations, I thought to myself, I can figure this out. I can figure out how to be a resident expert on production. I had great supervisors. We'll figure it out together. So I hopped on LinkedIn one night and I'm like, I can find somebody. I'm going to hire a recruiter, send some messages out to some local plant managers. So I did that. And Brian Whiteley responded and he's like, yeah, I would be really interested in learning a little bit about what's going on. He comes into the organization. He was a great culture fit. Him and our energy is very similar. He's my every day is a Super Bowl guy. What I learned through that process was before I brought him in, he met me here, I think like on a Friday night. And I said, Brian, before we make this official, I need you to show me. Don't tell me what you're going to do. Show me what you're going to do in our production environment. And I used to have this stack. He brought me a stack of papers this thick. And he's like, here's the KPI board that I'm going to have for the managers. Here's the KPI board that I'm going to have on the floor. Here's the safety protocol. Here's the certification program. Just bang, one after the other, after the other. And if you walk into our production environment today, that's exactly how he runs it. Exactly what he brought to me, that stack of papers, every one of them is how he runs this environment. And so having him here, our on-time shipping is incredible. Our quality, just what he had instilled, quality is all about caring, taking craftsmanship. His people care deeply about making a good product. And he cultivated that. He created a certification program for our people so they know exactly how much money they can make. The people are happy. They know that if I get trained on these 3 machines, I'm going to make $1 more on the hour. That's a big deal. We didn't have that when I came here 4 years ago. It's not a promise. I'm not in control of probably. I am in control of how many machines I'm trained on. So messaging Brian Whiteley with none of the information that I needed was the best thing that I ever did. Hire a recruiter. Don't mess around with that. So that's just great advice in general. One time I had success, but Brian has come in and he has really set the bar for what's the expectation of someone coming in. How do they turn things around? I have failed on the show me, don't tell me with other hires, even after him. And I would say that's the one thing that sets him apart is he showed me, and exactly what he brought to me is what he does in that environment.
Yeah, it's awesome. Great member of the executive team, and you're building that team. That team's getting better. Just give a little quick story about what's happened in finance in the last 90 days.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So our former director of finance, wonderful, wonderful person, really competent in all things controls and cash. Cleaned up a huge, huge mess. but we were struggling to get the books closed. And so what she ends up, she's like, hey, I want to retire. I'm like, okay, totally get that. Love that. So big celebration, bring in a replacement for her, Jennifer Hess, and Jen comes in. I'm getting our income statement, our P&L, like the 27th or 28th of the following month. And so this made it a little difficult to make real-time decisions. And so Jen comes in, she's our director of accounting and finance. 7 days. Closed seventh day of the month, not 7th business day, 7th day of the month. She's like, hey, Lauren, I have the P&L. And I was like, no, you don't. She's like, yeah, I do. It's right here. It's all about the process by which she gets that done, what she needs from all the people who contribute to getting that work done. She's very clear about when she needs, what she needs. I tell our sales manager, who's on a great path to become our director of sales, I'm like, man, if you can make the sales pipeline shrink by the amount of days to close the books, boy, imagine. You go from a 28-day sales cycle to a 7-day sales cycle, 30%
awesome.
improvement in sales cycle time at a minimum. Yeah, it's good. She's great.
High expectations, right?
Yeah. But those are the people, honestly, you guys, that I'm like, I don't know. Why do they want to work here? Why do they want to work with me? I don't know. I don't know. That's why imposter syndrome, right? But they're awesome and they love it. And they care so much about, they believe that every day is a Super Bowl and they work their tails off and they're resident experts. I love it. I can lean on them for things way outside their domains because they have 20 years of experience in all different types of stuff. So it's super valuable to the business to have people like that on your team. It's awesome.
I think that they get what being part of a team really is. Winning a business any different than anything else, right? Any kind of sport, and you and I talk about this all the time. It's a team sport, and it starts at the top of the organization. So when you get people that trust each other, that want to go in the same direction, that can challenge each other, can have healthy conflict, hold each other accountable, behave consistently, all that, it's super engaging, super fun. And so I think that's what's happened, is that you've started to get that team now. This is the right team to help you get the business to the next level of performance, showing up through some of the examples you just talked about, right? So it's great performance. Good stuff.
Yeah.
And Lauren, even from my perspective, and having just met you at the start of this podcast, I really applaud your vulnerability. And I could see the transparency you have as a leader. It's a really, really great thing to have. And because we're all human, we all have to lead with courage, which you also talked about that as well. But recognizing that if you think you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
For sure.
And clearly you're stacking your room with people who you do believe are smarter than you. And you're setting up that culture and the expectations and trying to do your best to clearly articulate that. And those are all really great things to lead an organization. So congratulations. I love this conversation. This was great.
Thanks. I appreciate that. Good. Yeah, it's fun. It's really fun. When you have a great team, it makes work a lot more fun. It makes hitting goals feel a lot easier. It's all those things. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it is. It gets fun.
Yeah,
it gets fun.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for making the time. I agree with Glenn. Thanks for your vulnerability and your insight and your vision and your passion for what you're doing. You're making a huge impact in the business, not just from a financial performance, but you're making a difference in people's lives, and that's what it's all about. I think that's why Glenn and I do what we do, is hopefully we can make an impact in somebody's lives. And I know you feel the same when you're doing it in your organization. And I'm just happy to be able to work with you as often as we do, because it's fun. It's fun seeing what you're doing. And it's fun seeing your evolution as a leader. So thank you for taking the time and willing to share. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me, and thanks for the thoughtful questions. It's good sometimes to just have to pause and think. So I appreciate you guys very much.
Yeah. Oh, it's been our pleasure. Really appreciate you. And I appreciate you sharing so openly. So other business leaders and CEOs and owners and presidents can learn from some of these examples you've given.
Yeah, for sure.
Perfect.
Awesome.
All right. We have a great rest of the day, Lauren.
All right. You guys too. Thanks so much.